Welcome to TAPS 101.06, your 10-minute threat assessment essential. This episode is about the pathway to targeted violence. Before continuing with this lesson, it is strongly recommended that you watch TAPS 101.05. That episode explains the difference between reactive aggression and targeted violence, and their relation to the pathway to violence, an essential concept for today's lesson.
The Pathway to Targeted Violence is the work of Frederick Calhoun and Stephen Weston. It was introduced in a 2003 book they authored titled Contemporary Threat Management. Their pioneering contribution has been cited hundreds if not thousands of times and remains a foundational component of behavioral threat assessment. Before exploring the pathway to violence, let's do a quick review of reactive aggression and targeted violence. Reactive aggression is driven through emotions, fear, anger, or a lack of coping skills, while targeted violence is purposeful. Reactive aggression is impulsively reacting and targeted violence is premeditated. There is little to no planning in reactive aggression, where targeted violence involves strategy and planning.
What is a pathway to violence?
To help us understand the pathway to violence, we must recognize that although it is referred to as a pathway, it is not always linear, nor is it a checklist. Calhoun and Weston documented that the pathway to violence is a framework that is comprised of 5 distinct behavioral stages that often precede a violent act. When we are able to evaluate the potential risks someone may pose and how imminent the attack may be, we have a window of opportunity to mitigate it and offer support. The 5 stages of the pathway to violence are:
Grievance,
violent ideation,
research and planning,
preparation,
probing and breaching,
and then the attack.
Since the inception, the pathway to violence has been the subject of ongoing research and scholarly review. Both academic scrutiny and practical applications have validated and given constructive insight to the original work. Let's go through each of the 5 stages.
The person experiences a grievance or fixation based on a real or perceived belief that they have been treated unjustly. This can be displayed through expressions of anger or resentment. They may be hyper-focused on the perceived aggressor, group, or location. This often stems from experiences such as bullying, academic or relationship failure, or feelings of marginalization.
Ideation displayed through thoughts and fantasies. The person may experience daydreams or desires of how committing an act of violence against the perceived wrongdoer might solve the hurt and grievance they are experiencing. This can be witnessed through the person of concern making vague or even detailed comments and expressions. Violent writings or other communications are also often prevalent.
The planning and research stage goes beyond fantasy and ideation. In this stage, the person gives consideration to the who, what, when, where, and how they should carry out an act. They may begin to gather more detailed information, making a list of considerations, creating a map, or studying past attacks and tactics used.
At the preparation stage, the person is taking active steps to acquire tools and weapons. They might be seen familiarizing themselves with these and practicing with them. They might try to obtain or make explosives and practice setting them off. They could be collecting tactical gear or even disguises.
Probing and breaching is a stage where the person practices their plan that might include the use of the weapons and tools they acquired. They might be seen practicing routes of travel or doing checks of the location to identify vulnerabilities. They may be saying final goodbyes or preparing manifestos.
And the final stage is the attack.
How quickly can a person complete all of the stages?
There is no exact rate of speed in which someone may move through the stages in the pathway to violence to the point of an attack. Moving through the process in a matter of minutes is quite rare, as there is limited opportunity to plan, prepare, and probe. In some cases, this may happen within hours or a few days. In the far majority of cases, the process unfolds over a matter of months or even years.
This length of time provides the opportunity for concerning behavior to be recognized, reported, assessed, and, when necessary, resources given in order to prevent the attack from occurring.
It is important to understand that, like the variance in rates of speed, not everyone moves through each and every stage. Some people may not exhibit a stage or skip a stage entirely. Others may move forward, backward, or exit the pathway for a period of time, especially when resources have been inserted.
That's interesting. So the pathway to violence predicts if an act will occur?
No, the pathway to violence does not predict the future. It is a framework of observation that provides warning signs of behavior that may be potentially dangerous. Many people experience grievances or have thoughts and even fantasies about violence. The overwhelming majority never act on their thoughts. As we learned in earlier lessons, a key goal of threat assessment is to identify those that pose a threat, not just someone who made a threat.
How do we know if someone is showing any of these warning signs?
In 2000, Dr. Mary Ellen O'Toole was a behavioral analyst with the FBI. In a study published, Dr. O'Toole coined the term leakage.
Dr. O'Toole described leakage to be when a student intentionally or unintentionally reveals clues to feelings, thoughts, fantasies, attitudes, or intentions that may signal an impending violent act. These clues could take the form of subtle threats, boasts, innuendos, predictions, or ultimatums. Clues could be spoken or conveyed in stories, diaries, essays, poems, letters, songs, drawings, doodles, tattoos, or videos.
A trickle of water might not seem like much, but when left undetected or not properly managed, it can be destructive and change the landscape.
A single comment on its own may feel insignificant, just a drop, but when combined with other observations, it can reveal a dangerous current beneath the surface.
Does this mean that it is acceptable to report single acts of suspicious behavior?
Yes. A concerning statement or unusual display of behavior might be a warning sign that should not be overlooked. The action might be innocuous, or it could be an important factor that determines if the situation poses a threat or not. Many studies have indicated that leakage about the planned attack has been prevalent in about 50% of the cases. Other studies suggest that the percentage is much higher.
It has been said that in order to connect the dots, one must first collect the dots. The collection of dots of information is the foundation of the See Something, Say Something public awareness campaign.
See Something, Say Something encourages community members to report suspicious or concerning behaviors. These are the dots. Once the dots are collected, trained threat assessors rely on a threat assessment model to determine if the dots have connections that indicate reactive aggression, targeted violence, or indicates movement along the pathway to violence.
The general public does not have the burden of determining if what they witnessed, perceived, and reported was indeed something that poses a threat. The level of danger, including a finding of little or no danger, is the work of a trained multidisciplinary threat assessment team.
When behaviors of concern are reported, the threat assessment team identifies the specific concerns.
Team members then identify sources of information to gather. For example, school records or interviews.
Once the information is collected, the team conducts the threat assessment using a model to guide their work.
If the behavior is deemed to be a viable threat of targeted violence, the team typically helps establish a plan to manage and mitigate the situation.
Wow, I could really use a review. I don't want to miss any of this important information.
Targeted violence is the result of an understandable and usually discernible process of behavior.
The pathway to violence includes 5 stages prior to the attack. Stages include grievance, ideation, planning and research, preparation and probing, and breaching.
Time spent working through the stages is different for everyone based on a variety of factors.
Not all the stages are exhibited. People move through the pathway in different ways.
It does not predict the future. It gives indicators that require further evaluation.
Encourage reports of concerning behavior. These are the dots that might have a connection.
Reported concerns should be properly evaluated by trained professionals.
The threat assessment process incorporates the concepts of reactive aggression, targeted violence,
and the pathway to violence, in an effort to prevent an attack before it occurs.